Hello, everyone. Welcome to SEC223. It's the lights are blinding up here, so if I know any of you, welcome. We're going to be talking through leading resilient security teams through psychological safety. Just a show of hands, like how many of you have heard of psychological safety? It's something you focus on maybe in your teams. Just raise your hand. If it's new to you, that's amazing too. Another question I wanted to ask is, how many of you are leading security teams today? And this is something you're focusing on. Oh, amazing. You're my people. I'm so excited you're here. My name is Jessie Skibby, and I've been a leader in a security environment for, I'm going to say, over 25 years. I'm not going to tell you the whole length of time, but it's been a very, very long time. And I'm very passionate about leading world-class teams. And so today I lead a global team for AWS. I've been at AWS and been a leader the entire time for a little over 6.5 years. And in the security area, where building an area of psychological safety is incredibly important. So obviously we're going to dive a lot deeper into that. So we're going to talk about what is psychological safety. There's several of you that didn't raise your hand when I said that, so I think it's important to understand what it is, but also what it's not. And then we're going to talk about how it strengthens your security team. So if it wasn't something that you're already focusing on from a culture perspective, maybe thinking about ways you can evaluate where your team is at from a psychological safety perspective and look for ways that you can start making the right improvements, and more importantly, why? Why is it important to make those improvements? And then I'm going to give you some actionable next steps. And so the actionable next steps are very much positioned from a leadership perspective. Like if you're responsible for the team culture, these are things you can do. But I'm also going to sprinkle in some things like if you're not the leader of the team, you are a leader on the team, and how can you help influence the right culture and the right environment in your team? So what is psychological safety? And so there's a few different definitions, but I'm focusing on psychological safety as it relates to the team environment. So I want you to take that into consideration. And one of the founders of this concept is an author named Amy Edmondson. And so this is how Amy Edmondson describes it. It's a shared belief within a team or organization where members feel safe to take interpersonal risks without the fear of negative consequences. So if you think about that definition just for a second and think about why that is important to have as a cultural aspect within your security team. People feeling safe to voice their opinions, people feeling safe to bring forward their new ideas leads to both secure outcomes and innovation. And so the book that I'm referring to, or the book that I read initially that got me so fired up and passionate about this topic, is Amy's book, The Fearless Organization. Has anyone read The Fearless Organization by Amy Edmondson? No? Okay. It's an amazing book. There's another book that I'm going to reference here in a minute too that I think is another really, it's a little bit more towards innovation, but Amy's study, basically, the reason why this came about was she was studying in a medical environment. Like if a nurse, say for example, knows that the medication that the doctor is about to give to a patient is going to cause harm, but she's too afraid to speak up. So imagine that environment where the repercussion from speaking up is so great that you're afraid to tell a doctor that they're about to cause harm to their patient. So think about this as it relates to your security team. If you're the leader of the team and no one feels confident speaking up when they know there's a mistake happening, then you've got issues throughout the organization, right? Having people feel that psychological safety to speak up and alert you when there's a problem are the most important things I care about as a leader. If no one's talking, if no one's giving you any bad news, that's a sign that you might have a psychological safety issue. All right. So as I mentioned, there was a second book that I wanted to talk through for a minute, and this is a little bit different. Think about the idea of innovation on your security team, right? Like we are in a world where some of you that maybe stuck around, we are thinking about like how to use agents, how to use AI, agentic AI in the world of security, how to invent new ways of doing things. And so there's a book from Timothy Clark, a 2020 book, called The 4 Stages of Psychological Safety defining the path to inclusion and innovation. And so this concept is more about the 4 elements of psychological safety being safe to contribute, safe to challenge the status quo, safe to learn, and safe to contribute are the 4 foundational elements. And the reason why this is important, because if your environment is not one that welcomes new ideas and has a safe place to express those new ideas, it's going to prevent you from truly innovating, right? We do all that we can to build inclusive teams. We make sure we have people with different lived experiences, different backgrounds, all safe to contribute. But if you don't have the right environment where people are free to speak up, then you miss out on the innovation aspects. And so for security and innovation, these are the 2 primary pillars of why I feel that building the right psychologically safe environment is important for your security team specifically, both from a security outcome perspective, like it's our responsibility as security leaders to make sure that we have the right security outcomes that we're driving for our organization, and we as leaders also want to make sure we're innovating, that we're creating faster and better ways of doing things, and that we're innovating on behalf of our customer to do things right. And so in the security team, you have a high-stakes environment. You can't afford to have someone who has information that's not sharing it, right? There's just no time for that. Like, think about a case where you've got incident response. You've got incident responders that are investigating a situation. Or you've got governance, risk, and compliance individuals that see something coming to affect your organization, but they don't say anything about it. They're too afraid of having any repercussions coming back on them. And I said, like before, the rapid incident response, the ability to respond very quickly to an incident requires the right safe environment. Because if you have somebody who's holding back on an idea and they're not sharing it, these are the things that you don't want in your team. I think number 4 here is one of the most important. To me, what psychological safety means is that it's the right environment for people to learn. Because if you're not hearing about mistakes coming in, if you're not hearing about someone who made an error or something that's potentially going to impact your organization and they don't say anything, you're not learning. You're not learning from those mistakes. All right, so to kind of summarize, like the ideal situation in a psychologically safe workplace, team members trust each other. They trust each other and they trust you as the leader to be able to show up as their authentic self, share their ideas, learn from one another, and learning from mistakes. It's a place where you're actually really valuing their unique perspectives, and that people feel confident they won't be punished. This is the biggest thing. I guess it's important to also say what it's not. You know, a psychologically safe environment is not about just being nice. It's not about just being nice, because if you're not building the right opportunity for people to voice their opinions, it's not going to be conducive to creating the right environment. And so the open dialogue with honest feedback is encouraged. All right, so we're going to get into some actionable next steps. And I like this idea right here both from a leadership perspective, as well as maybe you're a leader on a security team and you're looking for a way to start influencing a psychologically safe environment. And so we have to frame mistakes as learning opportunities. And when I first learned about this concept a couple of years ago and really started implementing it on my team, I thought about it like I think about everything else with my team. It starts with me. It starts with me, and if I talk to the team about a mistake that I've made and what I've learned from it, then I'm making it okay for other people to do that. And so now, a couple of years later, what I experience is that if I'm not hearing about any mistakes going on, like if all of my KPIs in our organization are green, I'm not hearing about anything that's red, I'm not hearing about anything that's wrong, then I know I have a problem, right? You have to hear about the things that are going wrong so that you can learn together as a team. And so if you're the leader of a team, like sharing, your utmost vulnerability, talking about a mistake that was made and how you learned And at Amazon, we talk a lot about, how do you identify that issue and then make sure it never happens again, right? So what do you implement at scale to make sure that correction doesn't have to happen again? And so it's a great opportunity for you to dive deep with your team and looking at the post-incident reviews and not placing blame on one another, right? You're not looking for someone to blame. You're looking to learn, which is the most foundational element. So if you're not learning from the mistake, then you know that you're not being able to implement the right psychologically safe environment. Again, looking for those solutions that have scalable impact. I like this picture of this man because it's kind of how you feel when something happens. You're like, oh my gosh, there's a mistake that happened. And I don't want to be the one to go to my boss and tell him about it. And so it has to start with you. And so again, if you're a leader on the team and you're not the leader of the team, talk to your leader about this and say, hey, I'd like to share this with the team. I found this mistake. I'd like to walk through this opportunity of evaluating it and looking for the lessons that we can learn and try to influence it from that perspective. So this is, again, part of, one of the core foundational elements of psychological safety is having people feel included and valued on the team. And so encouraging open communication about threats and vulnerabilities. If there are opportunities that you can create in your environment, whether it's during a team meeting or whether it's something that you can do that's anonymous reporting, you want to be able to leverage the diversity of your team, but you can't fully leverage that if people are too afraid to share their voices and their opinions. And so you have to find a way to make it safe for those ideas to come in, right? You may not act on all the ideas, but just getting that larger, casting that broader net around getting people and their voices heard is key. And again, if you don't hear about this, if you're the leader of the team and you're not hearing about others' ideas, if you're not hearing about the idea of somebody 3 levels down from you, then you may have a problem, because we have to be able to share those ideas. And having regular team check-ins focused on improvement stemming from the feedback that you get. Again, I talked about this a little bit earlier, but this is important to have as an action item. Again, if you're the leader of the team, really important for you to think about how you leverage your own vulnerability as a leader to talk about mistakes. And I have to say, this was one of the hardest things for me to do back when I was really focusing on this. But when you're leading the team or you're a leader on the team, you realize everyone needs to make an impact, not just you. And so by sharing your own vulnerability, by learning from your experience, really opens the door for others to feel comfortable about mistakes. And again, mistakes are nothing more than learning opportunities. And so if you have to create that environment that learning is welcome. And to, again, we have to role model the behavior that you want to see. Again, if you're not the leader of the team, you don't feel like you have as much ability to make an impact, I think you have a lot more than you think you do. Every team is influenced by each other. Team members are influenced. And so if they see you do it and you make it safe, then others are going to come and follow along. So I would love to just share with you my LinkedIn profile. Again, my name is Jessie Skibby. This is something I'm very passionate about. Psychological safety is a core foundational element of building a robust security team. I do have several other articles, things that I've written on LinkedIn, also by my book references. So the book references to Amy Edmondson and the Timothy Clark book on innovation are also on my list. So I definitely would love to connect with you. And I hope you have a great rest of your event. Thank you.